morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started so that we can be respectful of your time this morning. We do have a 6th grade group who's going to be coming in later on, and when we're going to go through our presentation, and then when we get to the point of view exploring, we're going to move to a classroom since our group this morning is small enough to accommodate that. My name is Jackie Winter. I'm the Director of Pupil Services. This morning, we're going to focus a lot on academic and career planning, showing you some of the things that, if you flip to the agenda, the things that your students have gone through, mainly with Mr. Gableman, the counselor. So you'll have an opportunity to see the career cruising. We're going to take you through a nice tour so that you can see all the components and the work that the kids have done. Then the high school counselors, Mr. Orr and Mrs. Callender, are going to share some 4-year planning information, and we'll talk about the alignment of the stuff in career cruising to those course selections, and you'll have an opportunity to have the sheets with what has been turned in so far, so you'll have an opportunity to review that, and of course right now there's still an opportunity to make changes. Those are simply requests right now. That is not the order that the classes will be taken in, or next year. That's not the schedule. That part hasn't been done yet. And then Ms. Leroy, Director of Teaching and Learning, will go through the assessment timeline and how that information ties together. And then at the end, we'll have that opportunity for you guys to log in and see what your students have done. So these are the 4 main components of the academic and career planning. The first thing is for the students to really get to know themselves, to identify their interests, their skills, and also their strengths. Then they go into kind of exploring how those interests tie to some of our career pathways, and then starting to plan. So if I have this interest and these are the careers identified, what does that mean in terms of schooling requirements? What kind of high school preparation should I do to make sure that I'm ready for that choice? And then obviously we're starting this with them in middle school, and then our hope is that as they go through and as their interests change or they change as a person, that they adjust what those plans are. And the high school counselors will talk a little bit about how they do that at the high school. Can you go to the video or the DPI page? So this is the academic and career planning page on DPI, and one of the reasons that I wanted to show you this is it has a ton of great information, as well as showing you that ACP isn't something that's just a Whitnall initiative. It's something that we're doing statewide. And at the very bottom of the screen, there is a video. It's very animated with characters.
This is James.
But it gives you some
And
good
this is
information.
Donald. James is really motivated in school. He loves science. Darla lives for cars. One thing they have in common is that their futures will work out better if they can get a little bit of their brain to start thinking right now about what they want to do. And that's why academic and career planning matters. You've probably heard about ACP by now. Did you know it's designed to help every single student and to involve the whole school? It's part of the whole student approach. Every educator has the opportunity to mentor kids. James' math teacher asks him a few good questions. It helps him learn to devote that brain space to identifying his personal strengths and interests within the field of science. Once James knows some careers he's interested in, teachers and community members start helping him think of ways to explore them while he's still in school. He acquires more confidence as he takes these baby steps into the working world. By the time he gets to his senior year, he's even going to try a youth apprenticeship in biotechnology at a place suggested by one of his teachers. And he never would have thought of it if it weren't for his teachers thinking about ACP. It turns out James wants to focus on different avenues. And if it weren't for the ACP process in middle and high school, who knows how many years and dollars it would have taken him and his family to figure that out and move him on to his next exploration. Now, Darla benefits from her school's career fair, where she talks to different professionals in the automotive field. She arranges a job shadow with an automotive technician And she decides to explore automotive and aviation engineering. She even learns that for her goals, it'll help to have good literacy and math skills too. Schools offer a lot of these options already, but it's the comprehensive nature of ACP that makes the most difference. It's more than the sum of its parts. With the help of many educators at their schools, James and Darla are not only motivated, but they're planning for college and career, personalizing their education and their experiences to align to their own sense of purpose, their unique visions for their future. No wonder it's part of the agenda of State Superintendent Tony Evers.
You know, we want to make sure that every child is a graduate, college and career ready. And in order to make that happen in the state of Wisconsin, we have to make sure that academic and career planning is part of every child's education.
This website has more about ACP in Wisconsin and tools to help you make the most of it in your school.
So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gableman, and he's going to take you through some of the career cruising components.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming in. So, career cruising is a really exciting tool that all 6th graders through 12th grade are able to utilize in the Whitnall School District. It's a way to kind of house and use some assessments in relation to academic and career planning. And in career cruising, all the 8th graders have gone through a few different assessments. They've actually started to build a few things into their portfolio. And eventually you're going to be able to look at that. You can look at it in one of two ways. You can look at it through your students' login information, and I'll show you that. You can look at it through a parent portal where you can view their career portfolio, their results that they've done in career cruising, and you can actually then make comments to it. One of the advantages, I think, to the parent portal is that you can always access that real easy without having to remember kind of a long username and password. And if you have multiple students in 6th through 12th grades, you can easily navigate through those different things if you have multiple students. So these first couple slides just kind of show a lot of the different features of career cruising. The big thing that we did in career cruising is, if you look at the first couple of bullets over there to the left, we did an interest inventory. We talk about, well, how did we start looking for jobs? Well, one of the clues that we have is looking at, you know, an interest inventory. So, like, usually I start off, like, if I get into a guidance class in the fall, I'll say, you know, how many interests do you have? And the students say, like, 3 or 4 interests. I said, well, can we correlate that out to a job? Well, yeah, but if we ask a lot more questions, more comprehensive questions, would it correlate better? So the idea behind the interest inventory is that it should hopefully match up your students' interests to jobs that use those interests. So one of the things that we're going to see when we actually get into the career cruising website is I want you to check if your student has filled out the entire interest inventory questions. There's actually 3 stages, and some of them I've kind of noticed only answered maybe the first 39 or whatever. So we can, once we get in there, we can explore over 700 different careers and related careers, and we can look at a lot of different features in there. So we go to the next one. We can also explore colleges, and this would be something that I think is really helpful for a high school student. You know, I'm interested in being a registered nurse. Which colleges offer degrees in registered nursing? And you can see it not only in the state of Wisconsin, but throughout the country. And then the My Plan allows you to bookmark careers and different things like that. And then our next one. So there is a sequence of events by grade of how we want to use career cruising. And I know the high school uses this a lot, so it's kind of seamless from the middle school to the high school. It starts in 6th grade. Really, we started it here in 8th grade. We tried to get kind of caught up. We hadn't gotten into really the 6th grade classes. But the main things that we do in the middle school is the career matchmaker, which is the interest inventory. We also looked at the learning styles, and I'll show you that when we get into the website. And then hopefully they bookmarked a couple of careers that they were interested in. So those were the 3 main things that we did this fall with the 8th graders. And then next one. So this is how they logged in. So it's just WHIT hyphen or dash, first initial, middle initial, last name, graduation year, 4 zeros in their student ID. And then once they're in there, they can do a lot of different assessments and build a lot of different things. You can kind of see some of the items that are bolded there. So one of the first things that I asked the kids as well, what do you see yourself doing in 15 years? lot of them say, I don't know, but you're gonna go to college? Yeah, I think I wanna go to college. Do you know what you might wanna study? Yeah, I really like science, I wanna study science. And we start so we have kind of a long-term goal that we hopefully put into their portfolio. The next one we did was the activities and experiences. Well, what are your interests? What are your hobbies? Extracurriculars, I think, will get built more and more as they get into high school. The career matchmaker automatically, once you do the interest inventory or career matchmaker and career cruising, you will see the results of your top 40 jobs. Number 1 is the one that most correlates to your interest, and then number 40 would be the least, although so it's kind of rank ordered. The learning styles inventory results, we just did it's a quick little assessment in career cruising, and it basically says a student is a combination of being a tactile, hands-on learner, a visual learner, or an auditory learner. And then once I know that like I'm primarily a visual learner, how can I use some of those visual learning strategies to help me, maybe study for tests in high school, maybe to be utilized in a potential job. And then the last two are a couple of things that we just added in there that are not necessarily in career cruising, but we did a multiple intelligences survey with the 7th graders, and I tried to keep those results for the 8th grade and then have them put them into the portfolio. So basically there's 8 to 9 different multiple intelligences, and I'll show you mine, and then you can kind of see hopefully what your students looks like. We also did a personality quiz, which is the Myers-Briggs personality quiz for teenagers, and it puts them into 6 different categories, and it's 16 different categories, and it's just another clue as far as their personality when they start thinking about the future. And our next one. So I'm going to actually jump over here because I'm going to kind of navigate through this website a little bit. So this is the career cruising website. So this is where the kids, we went in here about 3-4 times in classes this fall, and these would be just some of the different things that we're going to look at. For the students, the 8th graders progress bar, they should be at a minimum of 23%. That means that they finished the interest inventory or career matchmaker, and they did the learning styles inventory. So, and we'll talk about the learning styles inventory when we look at the portfolio for this one. So your student will have put probably their first name here, so they're going to go to My Plan, and then they're going to click their first name, and this is the results of their efforts this fall in classes. A couple of different things that you can see. Number 1, over on the left, it has career clusters, so there's 16 nationally recognized career clusters, and it's going to give you your top 2 based on their interest answers. And the high school will use this a little bit for a lot of different reasons. One immediate reason would be it might help them select some 9th grade electives. The other thing is the progress bar, and then you can kind of see the rank ordering of the interest inventory. And over down on the left, just a little bit more. So when you get in there, whether you get in there in a few minutes when we go into career cruising, that's where on the left where you see the improve my results, double check that the student finished all of those questions. And it really doesn't take that long, but if they've only done 39 questions, I would argue they're not going to get as good of a results if they finish all 116 questions. Another clue about their personality would be a My Skills assessment. That is one that we did not do yet, but that's one they certainly could do if they wanted to. So if I look at a certain occupation, say a school counselor, there's a lot of different pieces of information that you can kind of surf through. So one of them would just be, you can kind of see the central aspects of, if you liked it or liked it very much. So those would be like the top 5 interest questions that would kind of correlate, I guess, to a school counselor. So we can go to at a glance and we can kind of see just a real quick snapshot of what for a school counselor, a salary range, type of education needed. You go down a little bit farther, you can see, you can take a look at an interview of a school counselor or any other 720 jobs that are in this website and kind of just see what they do and what they think about it. We can go to, I think this is a nice link over here, the related careers. You know, let's say I want to be a nurse. Well, what kind of nurse do I want to be? It might be dependent on some of my other interests, you know, and my other personality traits. Maybe my desire for how much education I want to have. So you can go to related careers and you can see it gives you a pretty good list of other jobs that would be related to the one that you were looking at. Go to education. This is another, I think, helpful link, especially once we get into high school. If we look at education and training, well, first of all, I think it says somewhere in there, the first paragraph, you would need to have a graduate degree for this position. And then if we go down here to the job that is, or to the link that is most closely related to a school counselor, then it can give you a list of colleges in the area that would offer a degree for this particular job. A couple more features. If we go back here, print my plan. This is the portfolio. So one thing, the default is I have to have the kids click all entries so we can see everything that they put in there. This would just be kind of a little bit of a report of what their efforts have produced. So this is the learning styles one. So visual learner was the primary learning style for Jim here, and this would just kind of offer some strategies for a visual learner that would be helpful in high school and beyond. And then we go a little farther, you can put a lot of different pieces of information in here. You can talk about a saved career. You can talk about interest in inventories, or interest in hobbies. And you can talk about a skill set, volunteer experiences. Down at the bottom is where hopefully the students have put in their multiple intelligences results. And this top three was a body kinesthetic, logic, math, and interpersonal. So just another clue. And then for the Myers-Briggs, I am a counsel, so I agree with those results because I'm caring and helpful. And then I think another nice feature is if they would ever want to maybe send this to a college, if they say, tell me a little bit more about yourself, that portfolio that you built, you could convert it to a Word document and you could get it to look a lot more polished than the one that we just saw a moment ago. So in a little bit, if you want to get into career cruising, you're going to be able to do that towards the end of this. One thing, this is the parent portfolio. So you should have a sheet that shows kind of an activation code. So as a parent, not only could you go in as the students, you could go in as a parent, and you could always view your child's career cruising information. So you could do it one of two ways. If you go in as a parent, you would put in careercruising.com/parent, click register now, and you just put in first name, last name, a password that you create, and the activation code, and then you should be able to get into the parent portal. So towards the end of this, if you guys want to stick around for a little bit, we'll go into that career cruising and take a look at that.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nora Revore. I'm one of the we have two counselors at the high school. I'm one of them. And I want to talk about a little bit about the four-year plan. Students, we lost it, but a four-year plan is what should I be taking 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th? what are the requirements, and then what do I have left for electives? And the basic thing for this freshman is they don't have a whole lot of choices, but they have a little bit more than they used to. And electives, when you pick your electives, it should be based on what are your interests? Career cruising helps you with that. What are your plans? Like some kids as an incoming freshman know that they may want to pursue architecture someday. And so maybe they start off with a class in design. And you'll see our electives, we have quite a few and we're adding more and more every year. And so maybe a student starts off in a basic design class. And then the following year, maybe it takes an art class to kind of follow with what their architecture design was. So, and then what they could end up with is maybe an internship or be in a co-op program where they actually work with somebody in that field. I think the goal of ours is let's not only prepare them, get them through high school well, so they do well, but also what are they gonna do after high school? So they should be looking at their interest inventories, like the matchmaker, to find out what are some things that I might want to consider in terms of electives. This is called the 16 career clusters. And this is helpful for students that maybe don't know exactly what they want to do. A lot of incoming freshmen don't. I have seniors that don't, but we're getting closer because we work with them every year. I feel like more and more seniors do know what they want to do because we've been doing it 6 through 12. So the career clusters are areas that students could fall into once they figure out what they want to do after high school. So I want to go into education. I don't know if I want to be a school counselor, teacher, music teacher. I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I know I want education. So an incoming freshman might know that. They maybe could narrow it down to that. And then what it does is it gives you some ideas of what you could take in terms of electives that would help you reach that goal of being an educator. So I like the career clusters because they give you not only the requirements on the top, but give you suggestions for electives. And again, freshmen don't have a whole lot of electives to take, but they maybe could fit in 1 or 2 in their schedule so that they're helping to prepare what comes after high school. Jen, could we go back to the 4-year plan? Or? So we don't have that one slide. Okay, there we go. So the 4-year plan, just so you know as parents, this class is required to have 24 credits. They need 4 years of English, 3 math, 3 social studies, half a credit of health, 1.5 of Phi-Ed, and then 3 and a half a credit of personal finance. And then the rest are electives that we've been talking about. Again, electives should help them build based on their interests so that when they're ready to leave high school, they are prepared and they know a little bit about the job. You know, sometimes when we go into a job, we might not know exactly what it is. And this gives them the opportunity to see what is it really to be a school counselor or an architecture or an engineer. What is it really like? I have a student that asked for next year, could I do an internship, youth apprenticeship, an internship with the Milwaukee Brewers? And he knew some people. So he helped me because it won't be that hard to fix him up with that because he really thinks he wants to go into maybe sports management, something in that field of athletics or sports. So he hopefully will have an internship with the Milwaukee Brewers next year. So that's what we're hoping. He probably took event marketing, he probably took project, we have a new class called event project and marketing, so we have different classes that help to build up to that internship when he as a senior. So the goal for some of these kids is they won't be at the high school much, they will hopefully be in internships or jobs that they enjoy, and that leads to the post-secondary education and career. So our goal as school counselors is not only to make sure kids have all their credits, the 24, and do it well, but also to help them plan for what comes after high school. And I think we're doing more and more of that every year.
We're gonna transition across the hall. We were hoping to get through the rest of this, but the sixth graders are coming.
Oh.
And so we're just gonna go to the classroom across the hall because no one's using it. And that'll give us an opportunity that we have an assessment part to finish up, and then we'll get into the exploration.
I have a question. Do you have this outlined? Because I can only stay about 10 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna share the presentation and we're videotaping it.
Okay, so that'll be available
Yeah,
also online?
yeah, we'll get it online, yeah,
Okay, and is this website up and running right now?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So you're able to go in and, yeah, you just need to make sure that you establish an account before you do the sign-in.
Okay.
That red button.
We finished,